Well, hello, creatives, community, kind folks out there. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and we are going to begin our series, as we do each time. We're going to begin our series starting with, of all things, the crystal ball. And yes, we take something simple, maybe something innocuous, something minor or mundane, or maybe even something that you hadn't really thought about. And we're going to talk about that for an hour each day, live, unscripted, for your enjoyment as we deep dive and delve into some things in our tabletop RPG community. Now, in the beginning, I like to give us a little bit of let's put ourselves on the same page and then talk about such things. Now, the classic crystal ball for this week is going to represent, well, a generality. So, for example, in your own gaming experience, it may not be crystal. It doesn't have to be a ball, but it is something, especially in fairy tales and even, dare I say, the layman's version of what they think of as being magical or scientific, kind of represents a crystal ball. And the crystal ball seems to be a combination, a divining device, absolutely. You guys are always ahead of me. For those who don't know, this show is simulcast on Twitch, YouTube, and the audio gets punched out to Discord. So if you go over to Fantasy Grounds College and check out join their Discord server, you can actually hear the audio and participate there. And of course, down in the Discord, Tesla Ranger says a divining device? Yeah, absolutely. Divining device, communication device as well. Sometimes kind of a manipulative device. And Dead Man the Storyteller says, brings up the mirror. Of course, the mirror on the wall, right? And the mirror is kind of a predictive, manipulative, illusory device of sorts. And it is a MacGuffin that allows maybe one or more of our big bads to either be motivated or help them in their course of action, right? Now, Tesla Ranger says so many methods of divination. Of course, does it predict the future? Does it allow the individual to scry, right? To see events that are happening in real time, very far away from them? Does it allow them to see things that happened in the past? When seeing the future, are these things that will happen? Are they fated to happen and cannot be avoided, or is it a view of things that will happen if this individual tries to stop or prevent or cause these future events to happen? And of course, there's also the major lesson. You see the future, a future either you like or don't like, you take action to make it happen. Therefore, you are the cause or the downfall of yourself for simply taking action in the first place, having that particular information. But I would even dare say that for some of our big bads, let's be honest. Let's get a little meta here, right? A crystal ball, and like I said, it doesn't need to be crystal or a ball. It could be a mirror. It could be a lake with a reflection. It could be a spirit or a tome, or it could be a crystalline thing that's not a sphere but pulled out of the ground. It could be a weapon or something. It doesn't matter. The point is, this crystal ball of sorts is a great way for you to introduce a big bad in the game and not worry about your PCs making that surprise attack and, beating them in the head with an arrow or getting their throat cut by your your the rogue of your party by not having your big bad try to give a speech in the middle of the game, or introduce this big bad into the world when the PCs are first level and the PCs just want to run up and hit it about the head and shoulders with their measly little weapons, right? Crystal Ball is a great metaphorical device to have things going on in your world, even if they are unrelated. Maybe there's more than one crystal ball, or there are machinations happening in the background, and something where the big bad knows about the PCs and has some inner knowledge, and here's your excuse for the big bad to know that one of your player characters is a pyromancer, and I don't know, cold related creatures are going against them, or there's someone who's a cryomancer who is their has been pulled into service to be their antithesis or something, or one of the player characters is a greedy mofo, and more and more the PC is being drawn away from the party with gifts of gold and silver and gems, and the PCs are scratching their head like, how come every city we go to, there's always somebody trying to bribe this, our PC away? I mean, no one really knows us like that, do they? And what a great way to introduce it. And of course, depending on if the PCs are investigative or they are going through the various chapters of your world, maybe they start giving clues as to the lieutenant that beseeches the crystal ball, or the individual that goes into the locked room that no one ever gets to see, or the painting that the big bad stands before and seems to only be talking to himself, his or herself, when they see this painting, and no one understands the thoughts that are going through their head. These are some great ways. And as a matter of fact, if you really want to pull the strings on this, you've got to be really careful. A crystal ball can even be a Deus Ex Machina. It could be the big bad is beaten, and before the last strike is given to them, the power of the crystal ball summons them away, or blasts them into the netherworld, or disintegrates them, or the crystal ball's influence on the big bad suddenly dissipates, and this individual's like, I have no idea what's going on, even though they've been the perpetrator of many crimes. It is both a physical object that could be the catalyst for things happening. It could be something that could be stolen by the PCs, or there's an attempt to have it destroyed by other factions in your world. There could be others who are, especially, say, a witches or a mage's coven, or what have you. There could be people who are jealous and want the power of this crystal ball. And if you want to go even further into it, where did it come from? Is this a naturalized thing in your world that someone could actually dig one up and find one, and it is automatically through the millennia given power? Maybe it is something that has to be enchanted, and someone is ashamed that they created such devices. Maybe there is a network of these crystal balls. Maybe there isn't just one, or the PCs and everyone in the world thinks there's one, but come to find out that it is connected to many other devices. And as well as being a predictive force, a divination force for your bad guy to basically get the upper hand, it could also be something the PCs find out that is predicting the coming of a greater danger, much like looking into a crystal ball and seeing some form of Cthulhuoid monster in it, and the PCs understand. They're like, uh-oh, something's coming from the outer reaches of the universe, or the deep vast crags of the ocean, or something. We need to check ourselves and get ready for the onslaught, right? So some of the greatest things that the crystal ball gives us is, and this has to do with using tropes and archetypes and stereotypes and things, is that the crystal ball is shorthand. It is a very easy shorthand, much like us. Oh yes, much like us bringing up the idea of like orcs, right? Orcs, goblinoids, are shorthand for bestial, like enraged creatures that run around and are easy to slay. It's a shorthand, and we can disrupt those archetypes and those tropes. But in the beginning, there is a shorthand, and a crystal ball does have a lot of mechanisms as far as the shorthand goes. Yeah, Deadman brings up. At least the first and second seasons weren't so bad. The Penny Dreadful television show, it aired on Netflix here, if I'm not mistaken. It may have aired on another channel before that. But the Penny Dreadful television show was one in which you had this idea of an individual, and mind you, the crystal ball could be something that is ephemeral, meaning that there's an oracle or a bloodline or what have you. Maybe there's a special ritual that is cast, or a was it on Showtime? Thank you. It aired on Showtime, and then they eventually moved it over to Netflix as a for rerun and streaming capabilities. But yeah, at least the tone of Penny Dreadful was pretty good in the first and second seasons, and it maintained this idea that there was a character in it who could or had visions of the future. And now an individual, even a player character, could have this, whether they are using classic Dungeons and Dragons, whether they are a cleric and they're given these visions by their divine source, whether they have these abilities or not. There are spell-like abilities that are divine that give people a look into the future. And there's no reason why the bad guy, why the enemy doesn't have this as well. As someone could reskin or reflavor some of their class abilities to say, hey, my arcane focus or one of my trinkets or something is a crystal orb that in which I can look into it and see things that no other people can see. And those visions could be anything from seeing through walls to seeing the inner workings of someone's intentions, i.e., seeing their alignment or something. It could be being the ability to detect magic or see in the dark or what have you, all the way going up to, of course, getting, using auguries and whether you receive the weals and woes or speaking to the dead or something of that nature. Now, the crystal ball could also be the inciting event that begins the chapter in which a manipulative and evil force begins taking place in your world. For example, there could be it's the idea of the king that's like, read me my future, and someone says to the king, oh, you will dominate these lands for for 50 years, and then your sons will kill you and take you, take over your lands and whatnot. And then, of course, this individual tries to go about causing those things. The same could be said for anything from an innocent farmer all the way up to a lich, right? That this individual is spawned to bring about or stop something that they've seen in the crystal ball. And maybe a powerful lich in your world has seen the downfall of humanity. Maybe there is a powerful evil comes from a distant land. The gods come to Earth, to the material plane, and do battle. Maybe some fiendish force comes up from the netherworld and plunges the world into eternal darkness for 1,000 years. And maybe the innocent farmer goes on a mission on this pathway to becoming a lich simply by having found some crystal ball out in the field or something, or in a barn or what have you. And the crystal ball itself might be telling the truth, and this person who's committed their soul to, committed their soul to evil is literally trying to save the world, and this could be the reasons why they're doing a particular thing. Also, the crystal ball could be set up so that someone does find it. Maybe the crystal ball is the machinations of an evil force. It could be a tool in which the gods are using it to basically it is, how good are you or how evil are you? Let's find out. Let's throw the crystal ball and see what happens when someone finds and sees their own destiny. Maybe it is a gift from someone who's a major rival of one or more members of the adventuring party and sees them doing something that will take them out of power, or sees that one or more members of the adventuring party have a penchant for evil, and this individual is attempting to stop them, or whatever. And again, this might be the thing that the inciting event. This might be the motivation to get your big bad to do a thing that normally it doesn't do. A dragon that ends up, the blue dragon out in the desert finds the crystal ball and it's like, it's giving me some information. Maybe I'll send some of my emissaries into the other lands to see what the hell's going on. And then now you have a reason why the sleeping dragon is now involved and such. Yeah. Project Vern says, so I am new to this whole thing involving D&D and the items. So are we talking about a magic item? Well, very generally. I'm talking about the magic item holistically, like not just the item, but how and what impact it could have on a Dungeons and Dragons world. And considering that you mentioned that you're new to this, just be aware that I'm talking about this from a creator's standpoint, like a dungeon master's standpoint, in the sense of it just not being a magic item you find in some cave or something, but maybe it has a larger impact on the world and such. So the simple answer is, yeah, we're talking about the magic item, but we're also talking about its impact in the world and the fact that the crystal ball means different things to different people, and you can pull on those threads. There's nothing wrong with it meaning something different. Omen says in the Discord that Stephen King's Dark Tower series had the 13 bends of the rainbow, which were essentially evil crystal balls that showed the worst in people. Yeah, exactly. Again, just to rehash, the crystal ball could show real-time events. It could show future events. It could be very manipulative, only showing those things that the crystal ball wants to show the person. Again, like the 13 beads of the rainbow. Sorry, I didn't. I am not quite familiar with the Dark Tower series, but yes, those things. Whether the crystal ball shows the worst in yourself or humanity, it could show like the magic. The mirror on the wall. It could show the worst of the individual looking into it and a clue as to having them stop it, whether you're manipulating them emotionally through jealousy or pride or vanity or something. So the crystal ball itself could be it could itself be a manipulative device, meaning like, hey, yeah, every time you look into it, you're shown all the people who might take your power away from you. Yeah. Project Vern says, I see. So the creativity and or the spectrum that said item that can be used for within the world or lore-wise for world creation. Yep. Did I get that right, or did I manage to flub it up? Nah, not at all. No, you got it right. That's exactly right. And this channel is kind of dedicated to talking about, like, let's take something simple and like deep dive into it and see where it goes from there. So today's Monster Monday. Tomorrow is called Discord Tuesday. Basically, we talk about gaming mechanics generally. Wednesday is World Building Wednesday, where we take a world and we take whatever subject we're talking about and build our world around it. And then Thursday is Third Pillar Thursday, meaning the third pillar of exploration. And Third Pillar Thursday is kind of my favorite. That's with the cinematic environments. I'm a writer as well, and that's basically, combat is one pillar, social interaction is the second pillar, and the environment is the third pillar. And talking about a world shaped by it, meaning like everything from the natural environment to man-made. And then Future Friday is for a game called Eclipse Phase, Altered Carbon, The Expanse, and we talk about transhumanism in tabletop games. But thank you for letting me bring that up. Now, the crystal ball idea can be something that is brought forward in the world through legends. Now, in the beginning, you may not want to even tell your PCs that your big bad has one. It might come about because of the big bad and their minions being able to predict what the PCs are doing or where they're doing it, or it could be a third party, meaning people are being ambushed on roads. We can go with the classic bandits on the road, goblinoid bandits on the road attacking people, but the individuals trying to protect the caravans are literally changing up, not even telling each other where they're going, which pathways. Maybe they're decoys, and yet these bandits are still being able to find and attack these caravans. And that could be the impetus. Like, wait a minute, they're getting some inside knowledge here, and there could be some drama brought about by people blaming each other, different countries or villages, countries, city-states are blaming each other, different factions are blaming each other for these attacks, and then the PCs come to find out, like, I don't know, it's a little too accurate. And then, lo and behold, the idea of a crystal ball being discovered, or even a mage's tower or something, beseeching the PCs, like, listen, we need to get our crystal ball back because someone took it, and we really don't want to let anybody else know that it's gone. So could you, kind of, yeah, sort of? Hell, even one of the player characters who's a wizard or a cleric or something like that, maybe they know of the existence of this crystal ball. Maybe they've even seen it when they were younger, and they understand that someone's going out to go get it. Project V says, nice. I'm trying to absorb all that I can. Some things I honestly cannot find within the realm of the net, so I look towards those who've been doing it far longer than I have. Yeah, I'm an old grognard, dude. I'm a I'm a graybeard, so I hope I can parcel out what little knowledge I have, but yeah, absolutely. Just yeah, you can sit back, relax, join in. Thank you very much, by the way, for being a Twitchophile, a Twitchian, as it were, and all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for finding it. Spread the word. If you like what you hear and interact with, man, just spread the word, man. Let other people know what's going on. Tesla Ranger says, Zycon from the Order of the Stick uses a crystal ball to scry upon the heroes regularly. It's even widescreen, and it has screen within screen. And TiVo, so we can record them while he isn't around. It also recommends other heroes and MacGuffin quests he might enjoy watching with HD. I forgot about that. Yeah. And, I mean, being a little bit silly, I mean, what if, why not have the big bad sitting back eating popcorn, watching the PCs flounder around with, like, a dragon next to, like, a pit fiend next to a lich, all of them having fun, eating Hot Pockets and pizza rolls and whatnot. I mean, why not? Yeah. Yep. You guys are silly. Yep, Future Friday. Thank you, Dead Man. Yeah. Yeah, we mentioned a number of other role playing games in the Future Friday series, and it used to be part of this weekly series, but I'm a fan of Eclipse Phase and transhumanist thought, not in our real world, but in the tabletop realm. So sorry, but yeah. Tesla says the world's largest polished sphere of solid quartz crystal, weighing more than 100 pounds and measuring over a foot in diameter, can be found at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of Natural History. I didn't know that. The display advises you to look into the ball to see an inverted image of the room behind it, just like any other large convex lens. Yeah, that is a thing, right? You take a crystal and look into it. It just shows you basically an inverted image behind it. But whatever, it's still cool to have a crystal ball to look into. And again, how a crystal ball is made, because we might hit upon this on World Building Wednesday. How they are made? Are they singular devices? Are they linked? Are they Like, are they one and done devices? Like, if you make one, there's really the person who created it or found it. There's no way to get another one. Who knows? And also, is there a power behind the crystal ball, or is the crystal ball itself like kind of like a will-o-wisp, where it is evil and manipulative because it just is, and those who try to find it and use its power to obtain great power and to being corrupted by it, or may basically doing things to bring about their own downfall. Sure, why not? And also, the crystal ball could be an excuse. It's the MacGuffin. It is the excuse for maybe how some of your big bads are able to do things that normally they are not able to do in the regular course of a game. A troll finds a crystal ball, and the crystal ball gives it information to attack a traveling group or something, so that the troll now has some kind of other magic item, or is given some great intelligence, because this creature normally isn't very bright, but the crystal ball is kind of like its mentor or its instructor in doing things in a particular manner. Maybe the crystal ball even educates a one or more creatures, lifting up its ability, much like an orc or hobgoblin chieftain or something has a crystal ball, and that crystal ball is educating that particular creature. As a matter of fact, a crystal ball and like hags, naga, sphinxes are kind of related as well, in the sense that the crystal ball is a physical object similar to like a naga or a hag or sphinx that, beseeches someone innocently, is manipulating them to get them to do the dirty work. And sure, it might be a sacrificial entity, but what does a crystal ball care? Maybe it's trying to go from hand to hand to go into the most powerful hands possible. Maybe it is trying to go from the dragon to the lich to the pit fiend to what have you, and maybe the monsters themselves have no connection, but the crystal ball connects all of them together. Tesla talks about fables. The mirror from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a recurring character, and yes, recurring character is the right description. It appears to have human level intelligence. It can show whoever asks it almost anything they ask for, but seems to prefer that the request be in the form mirror, mirror. Basically, description of mirror, mirror, question that rhymes with the first line. Yep. We see it getting snippy with Jack at one point for not bothering to make his request rhyme. Jack tries to defend himself, saying it's free verse, but the mirror doesn't buy it. That's true. And the mirror later reveals that it only makes people phrase their questions in rhyme form because it's inconvenient and annoying, so as to cut down on the number of inquiries. That could be a thing, right? Where the asking of a favor, much like a genie with a wish, it could be set up in that particular manner, so that you can't just keep asking it over and over again like a little kid. So what's going to happen tomorrow? What about the day after that? Well, what about the day after that? Am I going to get ice cream? Am I going to? The mirror or crystal ball is just like, shut up! I can't believe you, really. And it's like, okay, we're going to have to put a stop to this. All right, so it's going to have to be, it's going to have to be like in a haiku with like a 575, beginning with mirror, mirror, ending with. I mean, it could be silly, but it makes sense, though. In a way, it makes sense. Thank you, Dead Man, for the link to description of the actual crystal ball sitting in the Smithsonian, which in many ways is basically a semi-precious gemstone tumbled and smoothed. So, sure. I'll go into that with the flawless quartz sphere. Project Ven says, Vern says, I have a rather odd question speaking on the concept of the crystal ball within the universe. It can be used. I was wondering, in D&D, is there an enchantment or item that bends the perception of the user? An example, those who see the crystal ball see it as a different item, and others with a high enough stat to tell that is merely a crystal ball and not a box, marble, orb, or even a spherical stone. if you want to get technical, there are spells that are illusory. Although you are very free to say that the crystal ball itself is the one creating the illusion of what someone sees it as. For example, it might be a crystal ball, but everyone sees it as a beautiful maiden that gives out particular pieces of information and doesn't actually see the ball itself, but they think they see a translucent image, or it could be far more subtle. Maybe they see something that they desire, a magic blade, a stack of gold, a the dead body of their rival, and it elicits an emotional response out of them, and then they go about trying to fulfill that emotional response without necessarily being given verbal instructions. It could be something like that. So it's not an odd question, but 99% of the questions where you say, could there be, or is there a possibility? The answer is always yes, because in your gaming world, you can always do whatever you want to do. You just basically say, this is how it works in my world. That's it, and just be consistent with it as well. Don't try to do this after the fact, after the PCs are like, yay, we got the crystal ball, and now you're like, oh damn it, I didn't mean to give it to them. Oh, by the way, it's an illusion, you don't find it, don't do that. Yeah. And Tesla Ranger says, in Mirror Mirror, a fan work, Gaz buys a wall mirror from an antique shop that appears to be a normal mirror at first, but soon shows her reflection as a morbidly obese pig-like creature, due to her gluttony. Yeah, and remember the item. Yes, I'm using the word crystal ball, but crystal ball, mirror, it could be, like I said, it could be a reflection in a small pond or lake. It could be a chalice filled with a certain type of fluid that reflects something. It could be Game of Thrones did something similar in terms of people looking into the fire, right? And they receive some sort of vision or image by looking into the fire. All right, man. Hey, Omen, have a good evening, dude. But yeah, when going on talking about the Mirror Mirror fan work, says when she confronts the shopkeeper of the store about it, the woman explains that the mirror shows your true self and advises her to try changing who she is if she doesn't like what she sees in it. Instead, Gaz destroys the mirror with a baseball bat, causing it to unleash its magic and transforming her permanently into the pig creature. You know what? That's a bit of a dick move, I think. Because it is the thing where like it's like, oh, the mirror shows you that you can change, and you're like, I think the mirror is lying to me, I'm going to destroy it. And again, the crystal ball could be shattered, the mirror could be shattered, the lake could freeze over. Looking into the fire only lasts a short amount of time. The oracle rolls the bones and tells you your future, and then lo and behold, the PCs and NPCs in the story start to change their motivation. And again, we're talking about an inciting event. It is the thing that motivates someone to maybe take part in something they don't normally do. It's the Sphinx that comes into the human lands and decides to speak to someone, or the human that goes over into the Sphinx's lands, etc., etc. Now, Deadman talks about the flawless crystal in the Smithsonian, which in many ways, maybe someone found this thing or created it, and it itself could be in a museum or in the possession of a noble family or something. 242,323 carats, weighs 106.75 pounds or 48.5 kilograms. Wow, that's awesome though. And how cool to have something created that way. Now, even before a crystal ball is found, maybe there is a faction that is able to create these items, and that could lead to like an espionage kind of social end, or like a Cold War espionage kind of thing, where the PCs or other factions are trying to prevent the creation of a crystal ball because they know of its power. It could also be predicted that someone will. The prediction could be that a crystal ball will come into the hands of a particular noble family or rich merchant or the Northerners as opposed to the Southerners or something. It could be something that is passed on from generation to generation, and the elder of the family is, dying from consumption or something, and passing it on to their children who want to fight over it. And the crystal ball could almost be like a curse of itself, showing people things that cause them to be motivated to do things that they normally wouldn't. And the existence of the crystal ball is much like the monolith in 2001: Space Odyssey, right? It itself isn't doing something, but it's causing people to react emotionally. And so maybe, this noble family's always been backstabbing each other for generations upon generations, and everyone's like, they're kind of cursed. And it could be about possessing the crystal ball that no one ever seems to possess. It just seems to like roll from one hand to another without anyone particularly using it. Project Vern says, well, some scenarios, if the item's able to do such a thing, like kind of like the Jinn in Arabic mythos, do not tempt or threaten an item with such a power, because it will only be, it'll only bite you in the bum. Yeah, very much so, right? It's weird to say this, but it's the item that causes the thing before you're ever able to even use the thing. It's like every time you are tempted to use it, it turns around and destroys you. And maybe it just has a side effect of destroying the things around it. Like, for example, if the crystal ball shows you what you are inside, maybe inside is what people turn into when looking into the crystal ball in the first place, right? So all those jealous, evil, backstabbing people who've killed and murdered and bribed and threatened and cajoled to get to the crystal ball in the first place, basically their inner evil is showing through, and the crystal ball's really only just showing a real reflection, and then they turn into the thing that they are on the inside to get to the crystal ball in the first place, which might be an excuse for why there are monstrous things running around the human lands, or even inside the city in your world. And that could be a really cool inciting event. Project says the item has a sentiment about it, meaning like a sentience that is intelligent, of course. And that sentience doesn't need to be human level. It might be working on its own time frame, much like the idea of a crystal ball could be a minor form of a wish fulfiller. Hey, you can get what you want if you only do this thing. Rickard says it can predict the future, or it can show you what it needs to have the thing that you will need to see to make the prediction come through. Exactly, right? It could show someone, you need to kill your older brothers and sisters to get on the throne, and a person's like, I don't want to do such a thing, but they start talking to themselves, and they talk themselves into trying to achieve this thing, right? And upon actually going through with killing their older brother and sisters to sit upon the throne, that could be their downfall. And, then they wonder, did the crystal ball really show me the future? Or did it show a future that really I just wanted the excuse to do it, Yeah. Tesla's like, do not taunt Cthulhu. The artifact of doom in Oculus is responsible for 45 deaths at the beginning of the film. Yeah, when Kylie unveils the mirror, she makes a snippy remark, like, hello again, you must be hungry, then jumps as she sees a hallucination of a statue turning to look at her. Yeah, and the magic of the mirror, the magic of the crystal ball, it could be anything we want, right? It could be looking into it, animates the statue that stands behind the person. It could be looking into it, they see, this person sees the evil of those around them, but then come to find out that evil is coming true, and those people are are mutating or shifting, or maybe a person, their vision has been changed and all they see around them are monsters, even and as they pick up a large object and try to attack their family and friends, and all they see are monsters. They don't see that they're attacking their innocent family members. And much like I'm going to bring up the animated, the long past animated Justice League cartoon had Superman and Wonder Woman fighting each other. And what did they see? Well, they each saw the illusion of a demon as the other one acting as a demon, right? Instead of Superman's laser vision, it was breathing out fire. And instead of Wonder Woman's lasso, Superman saw its tail lashing at him and such. So that could be the power of this crystal ball as well. And again, it doesn't need to be crystal or a ball, but it could be the inciting event. Project Visa is a good example of an item or a being that will cause the user more harm than good. Would be the old movie Wishmaker. Oh, yeah, exactly. It is the Hellraiser movies, the Lament Configuration, the black and golden box that when you unlock the puzzle box, it takes you to another world, is a crystal ball in the sense of what we're talking about. It is the item that brings upon the wish fulfillment, and simply possessing the item brings about your downfall and maybe the downfall of others. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tesla Ranger's like, yeah, you never come out ahead in those movies. Yep, always read the fine print. Absolutely. Yeah, well, yeah, Project V on the or the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. Sauron's ring twists the holder's body and soul, of course. And like I said, this MacGuffin, as it were, this item, while it twists the souls of those who look into it, might be a great reason for why you have the person or faction or whatever doing the thing that it is doing in your world. It could be what was the other week we talked about the Medusa, right? We talked about the Medusa all week. This person may look into it and think that they are the most beautiful, and they know about the legends of the item that will show them who's the most beautiful person in the realm. And of course, like mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all kind of thing. Person looks into it and they are shown or turned into the person that they are, right? Like, you think you're beautiful, but really you're just a snippy old maiden that thinks that, that kind of thing, and turns them into the Medusa, and it's like, no, please, no. And maybe the only way to get out of the curse is to replace one person. Sometimes the answer to the curse is to get somebody else to fall prey or fall victim to the curse, so you can escape the curse. And that might even be the inciting event that causes the person to want the adventurers to go after them in the first place, right? Hey, I'm going to cause enough harm and danger so that the PCs come after me, so that at least one of them will get jealous, look into the crystal ball, the mirror, the chalice, whatever it may be, and then they will replace me so that I'm free, Gaining power is a used trope, but also trying to get rid of the power is another trope as well. To not be cursed as the Medusa, to not be trapped inside of on the other side of the mirror, to not be trapped inside of the crystal ball, to not be trapped inside of the cube or the orb or the cage or something, Rickard says a crystal ball that shows the wielder how they will conquer a nation or land, only to magically vanish when the owner becomes the emperor, searching out a new person to continue the cycle. Of course, absolutely, that might be the thing, right? Like the minute they become, again, be careful what you wish for. There are stories of the devil on the crossroads, right? The person finds the devil on the crossroads and says to the air, I will do anything to gain this one thing. And the person shows up and says, oh, you'll do anything? Sure, you want your wish? Fine, I'll grant it to you, but you owe me your soul at the end. This is the same thing. The difference for me would be the MacGuffin is a real thing, and as it changes hands, as people try to search for it, as someone tries to create it or duplicate it, as legend has it that this thing could roll around inside of a PC's backpack. It could be found and fall into the bottom of a lake, and then people are trying to uncover it. And I think there is the MacGuffin having a physical existence is a way for you to modulate how and when something happens in your world, as well as, again, the PCs, kind of granting your player characters their own downfall while they carry this I don't know, gravity of jealousy thing, like the One Ring, where everyone that knows that you have it starts to like desire its power around you, and there might be a desire for the PCs, like, you know what, this thing is more trouble than it's worth. I love using it as a scrying device, but having people come after me, you know what, I'm just going to dump it in a volcano, And when other people hear about that, they're like, no, I want it. Yep. Yeah, Rickard. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but boy, can you play a mad blues guitar. Yep. That was The Crossroads. What a great movie, though. And not subtle, but like, I like that idea of the meeting in the crossroads, and the devil gives you what you want. Basically making you the best blues player in the world, but no one ever gets to really hear your music. It is like what is this term? The gift of the Magi. It's like, yeah, you get this thing, but on the other hand, it's not really what you really wanted, is it? Oh man. Project Visas, honestly, I'm not going to lie and to not steer everything sideways. Supernatural and the Crossroad Demon episodes are a dang fine example. You know what? And that might be a real thing in your world, right? Like, maybe the Crossroads isn't a physical place, but it is a place you arrive at due to your desire to find it. So if you were to find the crossroads and speak to the person who's there, who grants you this terrible desire, but when you turn around, all of a sudden now that crossroads is gone and you're sitting on a one-lane road, Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right, Rick. I mean, lots of people heard Robert Johnson by now. True. But in your world, there might be a Robert Johnson equivalent, a bard of sorts whose music has been heard of, but no one's ever heard of the bard that made the music in the first place. And if only one person were able to find the music or poetry or read the sonnet or whatever the case might be, to finish the last pages of the book of life or whatever, and put those last pages in it or something, might be a thing in your world, and everyone